Now, one of the things that a common theme that we get from our guests, which we as fans had no idea about, was the business side of the music industry, which a lot. I remember interviewing Dalvin from Jodeci a couple of weeks ago, and he said that his parents, his dad, they were in the studio, they made albums, but when it came to the business side, no one knew anything, and it was only when they realized that we've sold all these records, we're doing all these tours, but our bank accounts don't seem to add up. Coming from the fact where you've got Eddie, who's in the industry, part of the OJs and Success, were you guys a little bit more clued up about, okay, this is how the industry works? You need to, you're publishing, make sure you keep this and stuff like that.
No, not really. You would think so, but we learned some things. Like Harry would say some things. Eddie was Eddie was the showman. So, that's his really main niches is the showman, and he do that superbly, he might have talked to Gerald about certain things, but I think it was a lot of things we learned on the way.
Wow.
But the good thing I can say about that too is the fact that the opportunity to actually put together your own music and actually do something and people get it, that's the whole reward of everything, the good and the bad. But out of that is the fact that that's something that I have, along with the memories, I could say that I have what I the things that I helped put together is still a part of the history.
Yeah.
So that's that never, that never goes away. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, especially music, especially when you create some memorable sounds that do transcend. And as I said, when I'm talking about the songs, I will be focused as somebody who was either in the UK or in Nigeria before I moved in the 90s. When you first came out on the independent, what was did you have any expectations yourself as to how far you guys could go, or was it just were you content being big in Cleveland and
No, it was, things start happening so fast. You know what I mean? Like things start just really happening fast. Just to give you an idea how fast it was going, like we had the independent record out. We did Soul Train. We did a gig in DC, after we did Soul Train and started getting some publicity behind us, or the word was out. So we did a gig in DC, and I would say, and one of the execs from Atlantic was there, and after we smashed him that night, he came back and like, man, I'm gonna sign y'all. And that was it. The next year, because I would say that was like 84, 80, like 85. But we was dropping an album on Atlantic that next year.
Wow.
So from there, we dropped the album every year till to 1990, I would say. It was 86, 87. 88 was just Coolin. 89, we had 89 was we had Addicted to You, which was on Coming to America soundtrack,
Mm.
and we just did New Jack City.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So that was, things was happening fast. It was all back to back to back to back, just doing, just, you know what I mean? And so it was, you know, it was a great journey.
One of the songs that so when I was in Nigeria in finishing up high school, in the middle of high school, and Casanova comes out. So as I said, this is not just big in the US and in the UK, but this is big in Nigeria, and this is pre-internet and stuff. So you know, it's always amazing to me when songs cross over internationally like that. During the how the who came up with the concept of Casanova?
That was written, produced by the Calloway brothers,
Okay.
Reggie and Vincent Calloway, fellow Ohioans.
Okay.
Their background, if you don't know, is they were with part of Midnight Star.
Oh my goodness, yeah, I love Midnight Star. Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
so they wrote the song. Sylvia at the time was, you know, felt like we needed to get like, because we, you know, the first song we put out on the Atlantic went #1 in Pop Pop Goes My Mind. So the next, you know, that's kind of like a ballad
Yeah,
song.
yeah,
And we young, you know, so
yeah.
he wanted to give us something, you know, with some energy, with some, you know what I mean? And she, you know, got at the Callaways, and they came back and came with this song, and we just like, we knew it was going to do something. You
When
know
you
what I mean?
first heard it, you knew it was like something
Yeah,
special.
we felt like it was like, yo, this is, you know, where we need to be.
Mm. Yeah,
Yeah.
you know, it is, as I said, it's
And it was a change up from, you know, as far as what our, you know, early stuff was. Like the first independent record was a slow song,
mm,
you know, the other song that we put out after Pop Pop, Let's Go Out Tonight, was a slow song. You know what I mean? So it was the slow songs that was making the moves, but we were still young, but we was put into a balladeer old kind of category.
yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah.
Because
And it was
people were debating on whether or not, when they first heard I'm Still, that was our first independent single,
mm.
people were debating whether or not it was the OJs. So a lot of people thought that was the OJs. And, you know, so yeah.
Yeah, I mean, as I said, Gerald always looked as if he was a man when he when he first started. Just never stopped with the voice. He always, it's very similar to Johnny Gill when he joined New Edition. He felt like a man among the boys and stuff. So I can see how his voice would be tailored towards the ballads and stuff.
Yeah.
But in Casanova,
But you
yeah,
know, after that, we had a series of up tempos that, you know, after Casanova, um, we had a series of up tempos. After that was Fight Forever, My Forever Love, but that next album was just Coolin.
yes. I mean, that was a massive one. It crossed over to Nigeria with Heavy D. I was a massive Heavy D fan, so. Um, and it just, yeah, I mean, and I think at this time there's the whole New Jack swing, so having those
Yeah.
type of up tempo tracks were really crossing over. You had to keep Sweats and Johnny Kemp and Guy and all that stuff, so I can see why, you know. And I think when you think about, you said Sylvia, is it Sylvia Roan with
Yeah.
Atlantic? And then, okay, so you can think that she's looking at the marketplace and thinking we need to get you in a lane that you are accessible to what's going on, instead of just staying with the ballads, which
Yeah.
which is probably what those Atlantic Star, Midnight Star were doing, the type of songs, but they kind of slowed down towards the late 80s and weren't the late radio weren't playing them as much. So I could see why she wanted to make sure you guys, as young as you were catching a ride and stuff.
Yeah. We was put into a older category off the rip. So that, and I felt like, yeah, we gotta do something. And you know, it's not that we just, again, we didn't have our own niche down yet. Not until, not really. I mean, we were being successful with what we were doing. You know, like, so they put us with producers, you know, in the beginning. And but on Just Coolin is when we were able to kind of produce the whole project. And so Just Coolin was the, you know, that was like, and I remember the, you know, a lot of the critics were real critical about Just Coolin. Like they hated it. They hated it. They did. And I still have some of the news clippings. Like, you know, it's like, wow. Even though it was like a, you know, like a Associated Press, Reuters type thing, where they, you know, all have the same, they all take the information from one article and they do it across the board.
Yeah.
I mean, but the general consensus was they hated it. And so when it went #1, it was definitely satisfying.
Yeah. Who did the production on it?
I did.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that was the first album that we got the full reins. Me and Gerald got the, you know, the full reins to produce our whole record.
So how did it work then? How does it work between the two of you actually doing the production? Who comes up with the ideas? Who's writing? Who's finding the melodies and stuff? How did it work?
I mean, it was, you know, we had a great chemistry, considering the, you know, what we were able to do in that time. But I would come up primarily with the music, but sometimes sitting with the music, I come up with the concept. So there's some songs I would come up with concept along with the, you know, the track idea. And then some things he would come up with the idea and put some things together. So it's just a matter of how, you know, we would just come together on it. But more than likely, when we were not together, like a lot of that stuff, like I want to say we were still, you know, living at the big house right before Just Coolin. You know what I mean? And because I remember doing Just Coolin at the big house. That was their house.
Okay.
Shaker Heights. So yeah, when we were together at the house all the time, it would just be a thing where he would hear what's going on and we'd be vibing, you know, that kind of thing. When we were not living in the same, it would be a thing where I give him a cassette at the time and he would run with it and come up with, you know, different concepts. Then we would get together and go to the studio, and you know, I would get had a little team, and they would drop the tracks and do all the technical stuff, and then we would get together and go in, and he dropped the idea, and then we go from there.
Were you enjoying being in the studio, or did you prefer being on the stage?
No, I would prefer to be behind the scenes for sure. Girl would prefer to be on the stage. Yeah.
Was there any thoughts about either singing lead or taking up in any of the songs at those early days?
Yeah, we all sang on, you know, other cuts on the record, on the albums. So that's kind of like some, it is funny because people I've seen people comment on YouTube on some videos, and they would still think that it was all Gerald, you know. So, but no, we all sing on. It just depends on the vibe of the song, you know. Like some songs, like you know, "Baby I'm Ready," you know. "Baby I'm Ready" was, once we went in and he dropped the idea for "Baby I'm Ready," I was like, yo, that's it right there. There's nothing else that we need to do to that. You know what I mean? And it just depends on what it is once you get to a certain point in the song making process, you know. And that was just one of them times, like, yo. But there'd be other times that we have to put the, you know, the concept together. Even if he wrote it, we put together, you know, like background parts or, you know, that kind of thing. So it would be a work in process. So it would be, you know, it's like, again, it's no other feeling than to have a concept and take that and turn it into something that people can relate to and will go out and purchase, and they actually sing the song. And or, you know, I've heard plenty of stories of people getting married or having babies, and I done had people come up to me and say it.
Yeah.
So it's like, you know, that's just, you know, gratifying to be able to say that you were a part of people's lives like that.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing about music, is that it's a universal language that crosses continents, crosses languages, and especially if it's when it's done right. Thanks for watching. Please remember to subscribe to the channel, but most importantly, to press the notification bell so that you can be notified when we do have a new interview. Loads to come, but thanks a lot for watching.
I begin to